My scholarly article was entitled Comparing Cyberbullying Perpetration on Social Media, and it addressed social media's impact on cyberbullying. I want to begin by asking a couple rhetorical questions that I'd like you to keep in mind throughout the duration of the presentation. How many hours per day do you spend on any form of social media? And have you engaged in or experienced cyberbullying due to social media use? A lot of the key concepts that were found in this article had to do with mass media's impact on social media. And the factors that were addressed were the age, the evolution of use, or how social media use has evolved over the years, the overall impact that cyberbullying can have, comparing and contrasting of cyberbullying and bullying and traditional bullying, and how social norms can condone that type of behavior from the mass media. The findings in the article began on page 2 with the definition of cyberbullying, and that is defined as an aggressive, intentional act carried out by a group or individual using electronic forms of contact repeatedly and over time against a victim who cannot easily defend him or herself. And another key concept that was found within the article was the difference between cyberbullying and traditional bullying. And the main difference being that social media allows kids to communicate beyond what in-person communication would allow them to do. So it gives them more of an opportunity to do that to people. And studies have shown that the effects of cyberbullying can be far more significant than that of the traditional bullying because it can lead to absenteeism. And what that means is that they are absent from obligations and they don't necessarily have a good reason to be absent from it. And another thing that was addressed in the article was the theory of reasoned action and how that all ties in to the social norms of cyberbullying perpetrated by the mass media. Now, the TRA, what that is they use it to estimate somebody's intention, and then they predict how likely they are to behave in that way. And that was found on page 5. And there are two types of this: behavioral and normative. Behavioral relies on people's perception towards behavior, while normative describes how certain norms will influence behavior. And what that means is that if people perceive that cyberbullying is okay in the first place, then it could become commonplace if social media use continues to build the way that it has. Excuse me. And another large factor for social media use correlating to cyberbullying is a child's age. Because on page 9, it was stated that studies have shown that as a child's age increases, then the amount of parental control over their screen time and over what they're doing online decreases. And that's been happening over time as well. And one of the biggest things that was addressed by the article and correlates from social media use to cyberbullying was social norms. Now, the theory of reasoned action also addresses this as well, but what it basically means is that if mass media allow cyberbullying to become commonplace, that will be deemed correct. And social media has become such a prominent aspect from our lives that basically if we don't think about it and it keeps happening, then it will become commonplace and people won't care about it as much. And to give you a definition of a social norm, it's defined as rules and standards that are understood by members of a group and that guide and or constrain social behavior without the force of laws, which means that it all comes down to your own perception and that there's not necessarily any restrictions or guidelines to it. And so that ties into mass media's impact on social media because there are not a lot of rules. It mostly goes off of human perception and what we deem as socially acceptable. And the mass media have a significant impact on cyberbullying and social media because all it would take to make cyberbullying commonplace is that we would deem it allowable. So in conclusion, social media has had a profound impact on cyberbullying due to social norms and addressed by the TRA, and also with the climb of social media use. Social media allows people to communicate beyond what in-person communication allows, which would only allow it to further become a social norm. And the impact, again, is more significant than traditional bullying. It can lead to absenteeism, and mass media's impact on cyberbullying is dependent on how the user perceives the opportunity to do that. Thank you.